This is a LEGO Castle, and this is a LEGO Castle Mech. And in this video, I'll be building cursed mechs for over 10 castle factions so they can all battle each other at the end. Starting with the original faction, the Crown Knights of the Yellow Castle. We're bringing back Nelly and all the castle-themed minifigures for this one. For the base of our mech, I built this chunk of the original castle with this piece that's literally from the original set. I don't know where I got this from, but we'll put that there and add some flags on either side. And I guess she could stand up here, but we have to add a seat for her. So I've got this chonker of a piece. This is like one giant piece that I kind of beefed up a little bit. Plop the castle right on top of that. And then to fill in this hole, we've got a front panel here with a seat. Instead of sitting on top, she can sit in the middle here, so she's kind of framed by the red drawbridge. These yellow car hood pieces make excellent shoulders, and plug in the arms in the holes below that, which I decorated with her classic pink shield, and then we've got some like joint covers here, so it looks all fancy. We can steal the hands from this upscaled minifigure. Don't worry about the head. I use that for a mech later. And attach them in place so she can hold this epic sword and shield that I kind of just printed out and taped on some plates. Now it's ready to rumble. And actually, fun fact, the reason the original castle was yellow is because LEGO didn't want to make gray bricks because they didn't want kids building tanks or other war machines out of LEGO until they realized they could make a lot of money by selling giant gray hunks of plastic with war literally in the name. So to poke fun at that irony, I'm giving this yellow castle mech tank treads. Now it is all set to roll on into the battle at the end of this video, which takes place at the new Creator 3-in-1 castle, which is an amazing set despite its pros and cons. But one of those pros is the two new castle factions it introduces, the Horse Knights and the Serpent Knights. And we're definitely building a mech for both of these. After we take a moment to appreciate this new snake shield, they use the same mold as Link's Hylian shield from the Deku Tree set, and it just looks so good on this. But anyways, this guy and this guy both come with these brick-built horses that they can ride. And while I would have preferred to get like molded horses, I actually do really like the builds for these guys. They have a little hole where you can just sit right in the minifigure. But it got me thinking, could I build a mech out of this horse? Yes, I can. These look really cool. Basically what it is, turn the guy sideways, add an extra horse head that acts as an arm, and replace these spindly little legs with extra thick ones. And then just do the same thing for the other one. We'll add these guys to the battlefield and move on to the next faction, the Forestmen. This is a figure from Series 1, which I haven't done anything with yet, but it didn't come with this shield originally. This is their Forestmen logo, and it comes with a deer, which it kind of looks like a flea from Silksong. But anyways, I want to make his mech kind of deer themed, and I've already done the deer legs and deer arms before. So instead, this guy's mech is going to be a deer hunting tree stand. Watch out, buddy. Technically, the Forestmen set's walls were gray and the trees were black. I don't know why LEGO didn't want to make brown bricks, but we're gonna make the walls black so we can have this iconic blue roof on there, and then the wood be brown so it stands out more. It took me far longer than I'm willing to admit to get this angle of the roof right. Roofs are so hard in LEGO, and there's still a few little gaps there that you can kind of cover with this quiver. But the best part about it is that this clip that keeps the roof in place, you can also attach this branch with even more leaves on there, and then it almost looks like the mech has antlers, like a deer. So I'm gonna try to add some nice curvature with some leaves attached on there to add a little bit more detail. He's got these adorable little nubby hands. To add another brick-built shield that I printed out the cover of, I could have just left this brick-built shield as it is and it would have been fine, but I like the look of this, even though it's not perfect, it does the job. And then for his other hand, we can combine two of these thicker macaroni pieces, double that and give it to the next person, stretch a LEGO string piece tight between the two ends, it barely fits, and add this brick-built arrow in there to make a giant LEGO bow that he can actually hold. The scale isn't entirely accurate, but either way, this deer is screwed. And we can finish it off with these legs that make it look like an ent that someone built real estate on. I never knew that was a combination I needed in my life, but this thing turned out amazing. Must be absolutely terrifying from the deer's point of view. But if you think that's scary, next up we're building a Fright Knights mech for Basil the Batlord. And I have to give major props to this post by Oki, whose mech turned out probably a lot better than mine will, but they used this batwing piece to very closely replicate Basil's cool helmet. Okay, yeah, like I said, Oki's is probably better. But we can use an unrelated red crystal to make his red eyes, and actually seeing how he has kind of some white shining beneath his eyes, especially if you look at his other face on the other side of his head, you can definitely see more white, or I guess it's gray there. I'm gonna sneak two of the one ring behind the eyes to kind of look like that white ring around the eyes if you look at it from certain angles. And then we have a little bit of his neck showing. You can see kind of have like a slight amount beneath his helmet there. And since I guess we're just making a giant version of the minifigure, this piece kind of has the same proportions of his trapezoidal torso. I don't have another one of these for the back, but I do have one of these, which is basically half of that same piece. And then for this one, I actually had to steal it from this mech, which if you know, you know, but I'm very proud of like the shaping on the head and like that. It just like perfectly fits with the, anyway, this was a weird video, by the way. Not entirely unrelated to Basil's story, but anyways, we can finish off his back with that, connect his head, and start working on the arms. We're going fairly basic on the arms, just using classic mix hole joints to get lots of flexibility in there, including at the end here with the hand. This little plate has 3 bars that you can attach droid hands to, or droid arms that make little fingies. Let's just duplicate that for the other side, and add bats to the shoulders, for no other reason than it just looks cool. Other than the bats, I love how accurate it's been so far. We've got the helmet, of course, the neck, the shirt, and even the arm colors. It starts at black on the top and then gray further down with black hands. So to recreate the dual molded legs where it goes black, gray, black again, we've got this loincloth piece. It's not a loincloth because he's like wearing it over his pants, but just in case, let's add a belt around that so it doesn't fall down. And then I can finally put some of these pieces that I got a bunch of at the LEGO store to use in these surprisingly detailed boots. Look at that. Is the round part supposed to be on the bottom? I don't care. We'll use this swivel plate to connect it to the chest, and now we've got our finished Fright Knight with freakish flexibility. Wow. We still have to figure out how this is a mech that Basil can pilot, but first I'll give him another janky printed shield in this hand, and in the other hand sandwich the 2 sides of the handle for his axe. I really wanted to find a way to make it using only transparent red pieces like this, but my options were very limited, so I don't think that's gonna work. So instead I settled for attaching a tiny little bit of transparent red on this bionicle foot of all things. I think it's a foot. I have a tiny little bin of bionicle knickknacks I've acquired through random part lots. I wish I had more, but miraculously I did have 2 of, it must be feet because I have 2 of them. So if we can attach them together, this is gonna look really weird. And then pop it on the handle. Wow, that's different. I wouldn't say it's super accurate, but I like it. And then you can finally make it so Basil can pilot it. Just put a snot brick there, clip in a roll cage from the best LEGO theme. And now don't you ever talk to me or my son ever again. It's kind of unavoidable that this now looks like a baby carrier, but I guess it helps balance it out so it's not too scary. Although I probably shouldn't leave him in there for too long because I think his paper cape might get a little bit bent or folded in there. But now they're all ready to fight alongside this dragon guy. We should give like animal buddies to all the mechs. This one's got the dragon. This one's buddy is temporarily the deer. A horse to match Nellie's hobby horse. This guy turned his horse into the mech. Sorry, Humpty Dumpty. And this guy gets a... Okay, now we're gonna immediately break the pattern we established to take a look at one of the coolest official LEGO Castle mech sets, this masterpiece from Nexo Knights, which was a weird sci-fi castle combination theme inspired by that one Pop Tropica island. I don't really know what faction this king is supposed to belong to. It's just like the king faction. There's like one good guy's side on the Nexo Knights theme, and then one bad guy's side, the Red Goblin, and then later the Gargoyles or something. I don't know, it's hard to tell. Normally castle minifigures have their factions on their shields, but Nexo Knights had this whole thing where they had the app. They always do the app. Why do they do the app? But at least this time they had the cool customizability this time where you could switch out the different shield types in the real world. They all had some special power in the app, which has long been discontinued. I don't know why they're so set on making apps. I like this one though. And you can also use the shield as like a hover vehicle, but he doesn't need that. He's got this awesome mech to ride, which ironically comes with a shield that is also a hover vehicle for this cute little robot knight here. He also had the same castle faction logo thing. There are admittedly a lot of stickers that go into making this so detailed, but you can even just see the building techniques. Like this is a professional LEGO set compared to something like this by someone who's still learning. You've even got the crank in the back and whatever these things are called. Why do like mechs have these? Are these wings? Or are they just kind of like bunny ears? Are they just for flair? They're probably just to look cool, to be honest. But Nexo Knights is one of LEGO's original themes that I definitely slept on when it first released, so I was so happy, so inspiring to get this now. So I'm gonna use the inspiration to build my least favorite mech out of the bunch. It's not because of this figure. I actually really like the Black Falcons. This specific figure, Scarlet and Violet, that's a second Pokemon reference in this video. They're great. I don't love her cape because it's kind of awkward to film with in certain scenes. Anyways, I love the Black Falcons themselves. They're really fun to army build with. I'm just scared of the mech we're building for the faction because I'm basing it off of this Falcon, Violet. We can try to use a combination of wedge plates that we can attach at different angles using this hinge plate, but I gotta say it doesn't look great. It kind of looks like a wing, like if we compare to this, that you can get the idea, but we'll slap 2 of the wings on this thing using an illegal building technique, and it just looks so boring. Maybe this is a hot take, but I think that Falcon, ironically, is one of the most boring superheroes. He's just a guy. But I unintendedly made an equally boring, it's just all gray glider, just like his. So to add a little bit of that Black Falcon's color, which ironically is blue, not black, we can try, unsuccessful apparently, to adorn the wings with some blue tiles and grill pieces, which I did not know could shatter like this. Okay, I'm scared to show you the head and the legs. We'll start with the legs, I guess, because they're fairly straightforward, just using these Technic connectors and a battle droid body to make the 3 little fingers on the one end and the 1 little toe claw on the back end. I use the same illegal building technique as before to kind of just shove it on in there. It does not like to do that. And then we can give it little falcon chicken leg kind of things. Okay, to give me some slack, this was my reference image, and this guy does not have feet at all. I guess you have like a little bit of molded feet there, but I was flying literally blind here. So to make the toes a little bit better, we can replace these claw pieces with some parts from this Luke Skywalker mech set. I don't count the Rebel Alliance as a castle faction, even though they technically live in a castle, but we can rip his fingers off and insert a claw piece into them to make the feet like 10 times better. Which wingsuit did it better? Yes, this is technically a wingsuit. It's got like the little X-wing in the back. And speaking of small X-wings, by the way, this is unrelated to anything, but next year they're releasing an X-wing that's about this size and it costs $90. And the reason why is because they're including a smart brick with it, with an app. It's always the app. Anyways, we can put this windscreen on to make the belly of the bird, and there's no avoiding it. I have to build the head. I'm so sorry in advance. So we'll put that there. Clip in this black segment using these feathery pieces as the feathers. And because Violet has a yellow beak and these kind of downturned eyes, I did the best I could. And on its own, it doesn't look that bad, but when you zoom out, it looks like a turkey, you know? Or maybe like the Series 28 peacock costume. Like, it's not great. But when in doubt, you gotta add more weapons. And I realized you could attach a weapon on every single one of these wing segments. And I don't know if that makes it look any better, but it definitely cheers me up. Now we have cheetah speed and lizard glide, falcon flight, and lion pride. I don't know if anyone got that reference, but the next faction is the Lion Knights, who lay claim to the greatest LEGO castle set of all time, the Lion's Knight Castle, that I still, to this day, immensely regret throwing onto the ground. Why did I do that? Anyways, I don't at all regret the time I spent painstakingly sculpting this lion's mane, using a bunch of these brown fur pieces. They're fur now. But I did spend a ridiculously long time on this. It doesn't even look like it. But now I actually really have to hurry to finish this so we can get to the next faction, which I'm really looking forward to. We can clip in some cute little lion ears, a lion smile. It could be frowning as well. Here's where things start to go downhill. The teeth. They probably shouldn't extend that far beyond the mouth. It's got a massive overbite. And then the eyes. Eyes are really hard to do with LEGO because all the eyepieces they have are very cartoony, but when you try to like combine that with a very realistic mane like this, it just looks scary, to be honest. Okay, second PBS Kids reference in this video, but did anyone watch Between the Lions? Those lions creeped me out as a kid, and I think we recapture that energy here. But it gets worse. It gets way worse. I stole the abs off of Donkey Kong, who looks strangely similar to this guy, and stole the arms off of Giga Chadshroom. Sorry, buddy. Oh no. To give him this buff torso. And I imagine with a workout routine like this guy would probably skip leg day, so that's why we got the little spindly legs here with the little lion paws. We have the same problem that we did with the Fright Knight's mech, is that it's not really a mech, it's just like a creature that this guy doesn't really have a spot to ride on. So we'll just put him right on top there, and I think he'll be fine. Hopefully. Like, he's in more danger of his own mech than anyone else in the final battle coming up. But the next faction, the Fantasy Era Crown Knights, are my absolute favorite. It's kind of confusing that there's 2 different Crown Knights, but I bought a whole army of the superior Crown Knights that I accidentally unboxed in another video. I don't know if anything will ever top this castle theme for me, especially if LEGO continues to not make them. And one of my favorite castle sets growing up was this beauty, a set called the King's Chariot. Okay, forget the mech. We're turning this into a pickup truck by basically removing the 1 horsepower and replacing it with a bunch of horsepower. It looks absolutely hideous, but I love it so much. And to go in the driver's seat, I built another King minifigure with just the perfect face of all time to match this. But now absolutely no deer is safe on the road. But before the final battle, I wanted to show off the 2 mechs that I built for a final battle in another video. Spoilers for that video if you haven't seen it, but from the very beginning of making it, I knew I wanted to end the video with a giant mech battle where the castle turns into this monstrosity. In fact, the first concept art for the video I drew while I was on vacation included like the foot tower as foreshadowing. Literally the first thing I built when I got back was the foot. I don't know why I was so obsessed, but it paid off beautifully. We've got these shield kneecaps on these tower calves. The torso is the fourth tower section that I replaced the foot with on the thumbnail because I thought it would just confuse people. I'm a big fan of these shoulder pauldrons made with these castle prefab pieces, and this is what I stole the big fig's head for. I was able to perfect the technique I tried to use with, what was that, the Grim Reaper dinosaur a few videos back, using these rounded pieces to perfectly wrap around his head, covered by this dish piece and a red plume that kind of looks like this Napoleon plume with like the big arching feathers. Obviously it looks kind of goofy and it like doesn't really fit, but which of these mechs haven't been goofy, am I right? Both the sword and I think my best shield yet were a little bit too heavy for these old style joints to handle, so they were constantly drooping down. I tried to like stabilize them using sticky tack during the final fight. It was not a fun time. Oh. But when it actually stands up, I am very happy with how it looks. Although it doesn't really scream Wolfpack, other than the shield, obviously. So I added these little puppy dog ears and this cute little nose that hopefully make it look more wolf-like. But we'll see how he does against the final mech that I built for the Viking faction. So in universe, this Viking ship is what transforms into the giant dragon mech. I stole this piece from the front for his pants, just the general brown hull for his abs. I don't know what's the deal with abs, but as soon as you add them onto a big creature like this, it just instantly becomes funnier. Another anatomical detail, I don't know if anyone noticed, is if you lift his arms up, you can see he's got like armpit hair made with a little twig piece. There is absolutely no need for me to add that, but you know, sometimes it's the little things. The wings are connected in a really satisfying way using more of these giant joint pieces, and it took a while to get the wing part right, but I love how it uses the same width of stripes as the red and white sails, and I wanted to make it as torn and dragon wing-like, if that's a word, as I could. But that just clips in right into these Technic axles on the back because the new stability and support would be a giant issue with this thing. You'll notice that currently he does not have his Viking axe and shield, and that's because they are much too heavy for these wimpy little arms. Which, by the way, I was able to make using the exact same colors as one of the shields on the ship. But yeah, if there's anyone out there who knows more about Technic and mechs and stuff, is there any way to get like this range of motion where you have the cool arm joint while also making it any more strong than this? Because this is sad. I had to, again, reinforce it with sticky tack and basically just prop it up with my hand anytime I could, but there has to be a better way, right? Maybe. And the axe is even worse. I built it using this slightly complicated sideways building technique where you got the slopes and curves. But then I tried to connect it to this socket brick with part of it on the top and part of it on the bottom. And this thing fell apart every single time I wanted to do something with it. So I had to repair it again and again and again and again. And this was removed in a later clip, but page 119 is supposed to have fingers on it. So there you go, they wrap around the axe there. But as long as we ignore the problems each of these created, they look really cool on their own. And speaking of cool, I am so happy with how I was able to upscale this Viking dragon figurehead thing to be this giant yellow head. I don't have a lot of pieces in this burnt yellow color, so it was kind of a challenge getting all the shaping right. You can see I use flower petals for his two nostrils, a yellow clip hidden by a pink tongue because they don't make clips and bars in this dark yellow color. Two horns on the top and two on the sides, just like the original model. These evil red eyes I made to look more evil. Let's see what they look like. Oh, he's just shocked now. But these wedge plates add a lot of expressiveness to his expression. And then of course, a jaw full of teeth with the big ones in the front. I think I had to like sticky tack these in there because they kind of stay in there on their own, but they kept falling out, and so I got sick of putting them back in. And then these pearly whites, it's just so satisfying how they all close together. See, it fell out again. But the rows and rows of teeth that are like angled in based on his bottom jaw shape. Chomp, chomp, chomp. And then last but not least, I not only incorporated the front of the Viking ship, but the back of the Viking ship, this little curly Q, got turned into an equally curly tail on the back of the mech. I just think this is adorable. You didn't see it in most of the video. I don't even know, I think I had it off for some of the scenes because I had to like grab him from behind and it just wouldn't let me hold it in place. Oh, there goes the axe again. But regardless, one of the reasons I wanted to make this video is to show little details like that you might have missed. But the other reason is that I wanted to build two mech armies that could battle to the death. This side technically has one more, but this side has bigger mechs. Place your bets in the comments now and let the fight commence. Well, I guess it's a tie. So comment down below which team you think should win, which mech is your favorite, and if I should do this again with other castle factions. I think that would be kind of fun. But until then, watch one of these two videos next for even more mechy goodness.